Welcome to Cashflow Savannah podcast. This is episode 51. Chandler, how are you today? You doing all right?
Yes, I am doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm good. It's been really warm here in Savannah. I feel like it went from like a very mild spring to a very hot summer kind of overnight.
Yeah, I never complain about the heat though. I'll
That's,
complain about the cold, but give me all the heat.
I'm with you. I like
Can't
it
complain.
warm. I like summer clothes.
Yeah, no, it's some people are like, oh, you can just bundle up more, but no matter how much I bundle up, I'm still cold. Like, and then once you bundle up, you feel like you're constricted and you can't move to where like I can just wear shorts and t-shirt and at least I'm comfortable.
So true. It's so easy to get dressed.
Yeah.
Yes. But I messed up this week in that I wore slides to a photo shoot on Monday. And, it was all about being cool in the heat and also wanting to look cute, of course, for myself. And at the photo shoot, I said a bad word, which I don't normally, but I was suddenly in massive amounts of pain. And I said, it was not good. And I I pulled my foot out of my slide and I didn't see anything because there's a liner there. And then I looked at my foot, it was bleeding, and I picked up my shoe. There was a rusty nail all the way through my slide, all the way into my foot. And that just ruined my day right there. May I say, ruined my day.
That's a day ruiner for sure.
Yeah.
I've done that before, way back when. Hopefully, I don't do it again. When I was a little kid, walking around on the construction sites. But
Well, and it wasn't a construction site. It's a rental property. Like people live there. It's been rehabbed. I mean, the roof is fairly new. But I was so upset. And I'm like, I can't even remember last time I had a tetanus shot. And so Monday night, my foot was really hurting. And then ever since Monday, today is Wednesday, my arm hurts. My foot's fine, but the tetanus shot,
oh,
man,
did it?
that's
That'll
a
do
good.
it. Those shots will get you going. It
It's
gets
terrible. They give me a shot and antibiotics. Ugh,
Mhm.
I hate it. So that kind of took over my Monday. But other than that, it's been a good week.
There you go.
But it was so funny because I had this offer I was trying to send to this agent, and of course that messed it up. And I literally told her, I was like, I have a doctor's note. I stepped on a rusty nail. And she said she had just done it a month ago. So she was actually really cool to me about it because I felt bad. You know, when you tell someone, hey, I'm about to send you an offer, and then 6 hours later you send it, that's
Yeah.
really poor etiquette. It's terrible. So she forgave me, which is good. But yeah, that's how my week started off. But it's gonna end better. It's all good.
Yeah. There you go. We're building.
Yeah.
Keep on moving along.
Well,
So
we have a topic today. It's timely. We want to talk about the market and we want to talk about creative financing because how in the heck are we supposed to buy real estate right now? Interest rates are high, inventory is low, which means sales prices are high, but we also have properties that are sitting. We have an election year. Everyone's kind of on pause right now. And so I honestly think that creates an opportunity. Whenever I see distress, I say, hey, there's an opportunity. And
mhm.
it's funny because I was talking to a buyer today and he said, what's going on with this house? Is there something wrong with it? It's been sitting for 33 days. I said, there's nothing wrong with the house. The average, time a house is sitting right now in Savannah is 48 days. It's just things have just kind of slowed down here. It's crazy.
It's 62 now.
Is it
So
62 now? Oh, it went up. Wow.
updated to 62 days on market.
Wow. And again, there's nothing wrong with the house. It's just taking longer to move inventory. But as a buyer's agent, which I love being,
Hmm.
that's an opportunity for me. The longer it sits, the more hungry the seller is. And I'm going to go hard for that sales price.
Yeah, no, I like it. I want to ask, so like pre-COVID, as an agent, do you remember how long the properties were sitting? Like, I feel like it's just going back to the average days of sitting. I feel like properties normally sit on the market for 60 to 90 days.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't honestly know.
Yeah.
Honestly, right. I became an agent right after that or right during that. So I'm
Yeah.
not the best to ask. I've been in real estate for a long time, but I really did not want to be an agent until I finally did. But right after COVID as a buyer's agent, it was horrible because every house was getting 30 offers and I was just wasting all this time for nothing. I mean, it was like almost impossible. to get a house under contract. So that was kind of brutal. I almost prefer this as a buyer's agent. I prefer this kind of market because at least I know I'm going to get taken seriously. They're so happy to have an offer.
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but what I am seeing, and I've said this many times, if I'm being annoying, I apologize to our listener, but there's not much inventory. And I keep telling my clients, we really can't go in with much of a price reduction until the house has sat for at least 30 days. Under 30 days, I'm kind of getting laughed at when I
Yeah.
lowball them.
Yeah. Well, I would say from what most people say, like 60 to 90 is when people start getting into like
Real hard,
90 is like they're like, all right.
right?
And so what I've heard is a lot of people are going in as soon as it hits 90 days and just offering at
Yeah.
90. And a story I guess I could tell, and I messed up on this one. A house came up on the market. I knew about it before it was going on the market, and I had actually asked like, "Hey, before it went on market, how much?" Blah blah blah, and of course he said this outrageous number, and he was just being that negotiator where like when it's not on market, they just say this crazy number
Right.
maybe, and so I was like, "All right, screw that." And so it goes on market, and I'm like, way too much. Like I think this property is worth 175. Like that's what I think it's worth, and it's a good buy there. And it goes on market for 350,
Oh, wow.
and it sits. And I'm like, yeah, all right, it's going to sit. I think it got to 90 days, and they pushed it down from 350 to 300. And I'm like, 300 is still way off, but I love this property. Like I think it'd be such a good property to expand on and just do well. And then it sits for like 120 days. And then all of a sudden I get this email from Zillow and it's like sold. Like there was no like pending that I normally see it pending. And I'm
Oh,
like, I
man.
wonder what it's going to go for. Sold for 185. And that just kind of goes to show you after that 90 to 120, just make the offer. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, they got is 185. That was my number. And someone just made the offer and I didn't. So
Dang. Well, and in that case, get your agent on it and have say follow up every couple of weeks. I've gotten so many properties that way where I just stay on them and they know my client wants it or I want it. I've done it for myself. And they will pick up the phone and go, okay, what about this? But
yeah,
you gotta be in front of them. A lot of times the squeaky wheel gets the
yeah.
grease.
You just don't think you're like okay, even if I offer 250, that's a low ball, and like they're like 250 doesn't even work. So I was like, I'm like that's just crazy. Like if I just go in and offer 175, so I didn't do it. But what I should have just done is just did it.
Yeah.
And here's my numbers. This is what works. But
Well,
yeah,
and honestly, Chandler, I did this tactic today for a client. When it's a low ball offer like that, if I were your agent, I would call them verbally and talk to them.
yeah,
You don't even necessarily have to put it in writing, kind of feel them out, and then you just stay in front of them. I had someone that wanted to go over, it was over 30 days. They wanted to go over 10% under. So I called the agent. I said, look, we are not trying to be rude, but we're trying to make our numbers work. It's an investor and we are in a conversation. Like I'm not saying they jumped at that offer. They said they would need closer to ask, but
yeah,
that's what led into today's topic, which is creative financing, because really the best way through this market is going to be creatively. And the buyer and the seller that can think outside the box and say, how can we both win? And that's usually the way to go. The old way of getting a loan, paying full price, paying 20% down, it's hard to cash flow like that.
yeah,
So in this case, we said, can you seller finance? Can we take over the loan? There are so many other options other than traditional purchasing.
yeah. No, this market is definitely think outside the box market.
Right.
Um, very difficult market, but I think it's a good market to have because it's going to weed out some of the investors that are probably just going to quit. Like, all right, I'm done.
That's true.
And then the ones that stick through it are going to come through it long term and do well.
Well, I'm seeing more and more properties on the market sitting, and then I come in and Again, it's a phone call. I don't send a contract and magically hope they know what I'm talking about when I say sub two. I just don't even deal with it. But because of getting to hang out with great people like yourself, Chandler, and Pace Morby, I have a lot of confidence in this investment strategy. And I've been calling the agents. I give them my case, explain my client's case, and it's starting to work. And I've seen two properties now. I'm sure there are many more where the seller goes, I really want out of this. If you'll pay off my loan, I'll consider a seller carryback for the rest. And that's a huge advantage to the buyer. Huge advantage.
That's a great way to go about it right now. I know
Yeah,
that's a good way. What's the Morby method? That's where basically you pay it off, and the Morby's like, all right, we'll just go get a loan for this small amount. And that works out well too. I think Pace Morby came up with that and calls it the
right.
Morby method. So
Yeah, okay. I'll pay you your price, but you're going to give me my terms and you're going to have to sell or carry back the rest. And it's working. I mean, it's hard to on a sophisticated investor that's not in trouble from my experience. Okay, I'm only going to talk from my experience, but probably Pace more people would disagree with the statement. But I'm having a hard time to get someone who's not in trouble to agree to a sub two, right? They don't have to. They're just like, I can pay the mortgage. I don't want to, but I'm not interested in praying that you pay it off for me, right? They're not
mhm.
in desperate enough to really do that. But if they know that you'll pay that off and then they can do a seller carryback, they're a little bit more open to that. They just see it as lower risk.
Yeah, I think that's where the 90-day mark. I know Pace Morby always talks about, I don't mess with anything unless it's been on the market for 90 days or it was on the market and then they fired the agent.
Yeah.
And then that's when we contact them and kind of, I think another big key is actually either educating the agent, which it sounds like you're
Right.
doing. You're
Trying.
calling and
Yeah.
actually educating them because most agents, they don't know. They don't know half the stuff that they're, they probably just accept an offer. And I think educating the agents is another big
Yeah.
deal. 'Cause if you can educate them like a second grader and they understand it, I think that helps a lot too.
Well, and the agent, that selling agent, they're incurring cost, right? They've paid for photography, they're advertising them. They would like to get paid. Okay.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if I can convince them that I'm competent, my buyer is competent, and their seller is secure, and they'll get paid, now they're
Mhm.
on your side. But that's where that
Yeah.
phone call kind of comes in. And again, you have to have the confidence to say, hey, Miss Agent, this is what we want to do. We want everyone happy. We're not trying to disrespect your listing or your seller. We're just trying to make our numbers work. And a lot of times they can be very open to that conversation,
Mhm.
once they get it. And I
Yeah.
don't know about other markets, but in Savannah, you're going to get the best deal and the best service and the best anything you want if you're kind and you're nice and you're pleasant to work with. And so if we can lead with that foot that, hey, I'm educated, I'm nice, I'm gonna tell you nice things about your property, and then I'm gonna go hard on the sales price or the terms, they're a lot more workable at that point. But if I just called and said, hey, your piece of crap's been sitting for 120 days, just give it to us with a 20% discount, that's gonna be a no all day long.
So what kind of properties are you seeing your investors going after right now? Just long-term rentals? Or are they trying to get creative and go,
All the above, to be honest with you. People are still in the short-term rental market, if you can believe that, even though it's deflationary. But that's where there's a lot of opportunity. As you know, Chandler, we've had a huge short-term rental kerfluffle on Tabby Island. I recently wrote an article about it if you're interested. But um, everyone is kind of freaking out in that market, which has created opportunity. So we're seeing huge opportunities in sales prices because Tybee, I'm not seeing a lot sit over 90 days in Savannah, but on Tybee, we are. And so we're kind of going hard for those prices. And my buyers are able to get licensed short term rentals in a great little beach market that's going to have less and less short term rental certificates every year because of the city council decision. So, really, the guy that stays in it and still has a rental is going to make more every year because of the shrinking inventory. So in a way, it's very scary right now, but it's also creating an opportunity.
so how are you getting creative for the Tubby market?
Well, I've got one I'm trying to go Morby method, and I've got one that we're just flat out trying to lowball.
Okay. And that's properties that already have short-term rental certificates.
Yep.
And that are in a spot that they're not banned, basically.
Yes, they're zoned as commercial. So commercial zoning is not affected by the changes.
Yep.
It's the single family zoning
Yeah,
that if you transfer ownership, you're going to lose your certificate.
yeah,
But as I wrote in my article, I think there are a few ways around that. So anyway, there's always a way, right? And I've always been an out of the box thinker. And if you're going to be a competent and successful investor, you can't do what everybody else is doing. You have to be the one guy that goes, I see the crowd running that way. Let me look over here. And that's where the opportunities usually lies, the rocks where no one's picking up.
yeah. No, there's always a way. It's kind of this funny story that Marcel was telling us the other day. Uh, Pace Morby always gets brought up, but I guess we like him that much.
We love pace more.
Where HOA wasn't letting him rent, and he was like, "Okay, HOA," because the renter needed to own the property,
Right.
and he gave the renter like 0.0001% of ownership of that property, so he could then rent it. So there's a
Bill.
will, there's a way. There's always something,
Yeah.
especially with that band. I think someone's going to figure something out,
Right.
and I don't think it's figured out yet, but someone's going to figure something out, and they're going to make it work.
They're going to make it work. I already came up with two solutions and actually went over them with a lawyer yesterday, Quentin Marlin, who we love. And he agreed with part of my suggestion. So,
Okay.
check out that article. It's on sidwashere.com under the blog. But yeah, out of the box thinkers are going to come through, and people that freak out over a little bit of rain, they're not going to
Mhm.
make it. They're going to lose money every time. So don't
That's what
be, go
that's
ahead.
with any that's with any investment like that you do. Like things are always going to go down and up. You just gotta kind of not freak out and almost double down when it's down. So
Well, and keeping your ear to the ground too. I mean, that's how I got into medium term rentals before that term was coined. Like, I had a short term rental that people were begging me to use for 3, 4 months at a time. And I was like, no, it's in my backyard. I don't actually want you there. But I,
yeah,
I had so many requests. I said, there's an opportunity here. And I
yeah,
was able to take a house that was renting long term for 650 a month to almost 3,000 a month, and it still rents to this day. I'm very proud of it, but I just had to be the weirdo that bought a house, hoping it would work out. But again, I was my ear was to the ground.
yeah.
And so, this is the same situation. It's like, yeah, okay. Well, how do we transfer ownership without transferring ownership? You actually can do that. So
Yeah, that
there's
works.
opportunity on Tybee and everywhere. So, we just want to keep thinking that way. But again, with everyone trying to make the numbers work, quit thinking that you have to put 20% down and get a conventional loan, because if you do that, the numbers aren't going to work. Cash flow is almost impossible to find right now in any market. Savannah is no exception. We're really more of an appreciation play right now than we are cash flow. But when you look at where the money's really made, which is an appreciation, you start going, okay, if
Mhm.
I can, I'm not going to stress about cash flow because I see the high appreciation. How
Yeah.
else can I make the numbers work? Is there some seller financing? Can we do sub two? Can we do a wrap? Like Zach, who came to speak at our meetup, he was fantastic in that he would do a lease to own immediately on bad terms, when he's got a really high payment basically that wouldn't cash flow any other way than with seller financing. So he was flipping that around and wrapping it to the end buyer. He's a great out of the box thinker. I loved that
Yeah,
presentation.
you're turning into a little mini Pace Morby.
Well, yeah, yes, I
I
am.
hear it.
And if there's anyone I'm going to mimic, that's the guy. I'm just a big fan. I think he's right. I'm
I-
sorry. Like,
He's
it,
paving a new way, a different way. It's
right.
like never been heard of, but he's making it normal.
He is. I mean, did you ever read that book, Who Moved My Cheese?
No, I haven't.
Don't bother. But it's just about this. There's always cheese in this one corner of the house, and the mice would come every day and eat the cheese, and they were nice, happy, fat mice. Well, one day the cheese moved, and one mouse just kept going back to the same corner and starving. He basically starved to death, and the other mouse ran through the house and found cheese in a different location, and he did fine.
Yeah.
So I always want to be I know the cheese moves. I've been an investor for a long time. It's never going to stay where it was 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So you be an early adopter, make money as you see things shifting, see it coming, and be ahead of it.
And sometimes I don't mind just sitting around and kind of waiting.
Yeah,
Some
that's
people
okay
might
too.
disagree with it, but sometimes it's good to sit around and just stack up.
Yeah,
And then as soon as you see like this big opportunity, like this really big opportunity come in, that's when you just make sure you really go in on it
right.
because um, just don't let that opportunity get past you, basically. Kind of like, so for example, for the listeners, like COVID, everybody wished they would have just dumped every bit of their money into the stock market when it plummeted. Like, and you would be a millionaire. But sure enough, we didn't. You kick them off.
I did.
So Jacob room to cut it for a sec.
We have to finish up. I'm sorry. Let me
Yeah,
hang on.
no,
Let
I
me
was
check
looking at the
something.
time. I was thinking like right on 5.
Yeah,
Um,
hang on one second.
did you kick him off?
I did.
That's so funny.
Okay, go ahead, Chandler.
Um,
Finish your story.
all right,
Sorry,
Jacob.
Brian.
Dude, I lost my thought. Um,
COVID, everybody wishes they would have bought the stock market.
yeah. So, all right, Jacob, we're gonna pick up. Jacob, is that his name?
Brian.
Brian. Dang it. Sorry, Brian. Brian, we're gonna pick up right here. So everybody wished they would have just bought right in the stock market crash. So similar, like similar location or similar situation. Sit as soon as you see that crash in real estate, not in stock market, but as soon as you see that opportunity, go for it, and that's where you make your big bucks. So I think that's not a bad thing or idea either.
You're right.
But yeah, we appreciate y'all listening. Please let us know. We're doing this for y'all, so let us know what we need to talk about or what you want to hear about, and we will talk about whatever y'all want to hear. So, but please like, comment, subscribe. Please share, spread the word. We want everybody listening to this, and we will see you in the next episode. Thank you.
Bye bye.